So we're back working on the barn find Skyline and about to do a job that I have been heavily procrastinating for the last couple of weeks. So when we pulled this car out of the middle of a paddock, we knew it had some rust, but honestly, I did not expect it to have as much rust as it does. And to be fair, that's probably an error of judgment on my part. So we've taken care of a bunch of the rust on the body, but now we're moving on to the engine bay. Before we paint this engine bay and make it look brand new, we clearly need to take care of the rust. We've got some rust here, here at the battery tray, and here at the back of the Firewall. And to tackle that rust, everything needs to go, as well as the front guards and the front bar. So right now, that is exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna get to work removing all of this stuff. As we take the Skyline apart piece by piece, we start to see the full effect the years of neglect have had on this car. Every plug and bolt takes twice the effort to remove, but hopefully it'll all be worth it in the end. Wow. Whose idea was it to buy a rusty Skyline from a frickin' farm? Yep. That is absolutely insane. And also, every single bolt looks like this. Like, look at it, it's crazy. There's dirt everywhere, there's mouse stuff everywhere. Jeez. On the bright side, that means I guess the transformation when we do finish it is gonna be absolutely phenomenal. But for now, it just means it's a giant pain in the ass getting everything out of this engine bay. We've got one corner done, so I guess that's a start. Although, these bolts are stuck here on the intercooler, so that's gonna be fun to get out. Nonetheless, we keep on keeping on. These SP Tools rattle guns are absolutely insane. Perfect for this job. Yo. There she goes. First look underneath at the rust. Holy moly.
Everything looks sweet through here.
Yeah, sick.
Just a little bit of surface on that.
Yeah, it's just wire brushed up.
Surface and
it looks like a family of rats had once called the Skyline their home, and cleaning up their mess was super satisfying. A quick wire brush and a vacuum and things were looking way tidier. Our engine bay on our R32 Skyline is finally stripped and empty. Well, it's relatively empty anyway. There's still a couple of things we need to remove, but now we can get on to the main thing in this video, and that is fixing this rust. This will be the most challenging rust repair I've ever personally done. So we're gonna start with the easier part on the back of the Firewall. But to access that, we are going to have to remove this panel right here. And as you can see, I've already kind of started sussing out where all the spot welds are on the panel, because they're actually really hard to see. So we've drilled them out all the way as far as we can go with a tiny drill bit just to kind of gauge exactly where they are. There's still a couple more to do around here as well. And basically what we're gonna do is take a spot weld drill bit that Woz has here in his hand, and we're gonna drill the spot welds out very patiently.
This has a spring-loaded tip on it, which goes into the hole. The tip is springy.
Ah, that's cool.
So you center punch, or you can drill them with a tiny drill bit, or you can just center punch them.
Yep.
I find if you drill them, it stays there. It cuts a circle,
That's cool.
so it cuts out the spot weld.
That's super handy.
If you're carefully trying to remove something.
Yeah, and we want to put this back exactly the way it came off, so that's why we're doing it very carefully, because the rust is underneath it and there's no way we can fix this without removing this. So right now, we're gonna pull this off very carefully. Jobs like this one require a lot of patience, something I don't have much of, but I eventually got the piece off, and as it always goes, the rust was worse than we first thought. Well, we definitely revealed some secrets under that plate. Nothing that we can't take care of course, but it's definitely gonna challenge my fabricating skills, that's for sure. So as you can see, there's rust up here as well as on the back of the Firewall. Also, one thing to note is there is an M6 bolt here, so we are going to have to make sure that that goes back in its same spot so that the thing that bolted to the Firewall can still bolt to the Firewall. But this isn't gonna be super hard to take care of. It looks much worse than it actually is. So what we're gonna do is basically I'll work up the top here first. So I'll cut a section out, get our cardboard out, make our templates, weld that section in, and then move on to the bottom half. We can weld it, treat it, and it'll never come back again, hopefully. Well, that's the plan anyway, so let's cut out some frickin' rust. I worked in reverse this time and made our cardboard template before cutting the rust patch out. Once that was done, I cut our piece out of steel and used a magnet to hold it in place before tacking it in. Once the top piece is done, it's basically a rinse and repeat process for the lower part of the firewall. Although the end result of the welding doesn't look that pretty, once we grind it all down, it actually looked really good. So your boy's been cooking with the fab skills. And that piece of rust is all taken care of. Look at that, not even bad at all. A little bit of bodywork here, paint, and you won't even know it's there. Of course, we still have to weld our reinforcement plate back in, but we'll have to tidy all of this up first, and then that'll weld back on the top, and you'll never even know that this was here by the time we're finished with this engine bay. There was a piece right here as well that I cut out and welded a plate into, but overall, I'm super happy with that result. And now we're moving on to the part that I've been procrastinating for basically ever since I got this Skyline. The dreaded battery tray, my freaking God. The first thing I'm gonna do is just cut all this out, and that's gonna give us obviously a really good indication for the shape that we need to cut out of our metal sheet and weld into here. I'm not looking forward to this one single bit. Wish me luck. This is the biggest piece of rust I've ever dealt with in my fabrication history. Here we go. Oh man, oh. Jesus. Cancer of the car. Oh, g'day. Didn't see you there. When we first bought the Skyline, we didn't really know the extent of the rust, but that didn't really bother me because I knew we would at least give it a crack fixing it and would learn a bunch of new skills along the way. And just like that, the most difficult piece of fab work I've ever had to do is done. I mean, most difficult in terms of shapes anyway, because the shapes in here are so freaking weird. We had to do it in 3 pieces, but I'm definitely happy with the outcome. Obviously, as you see, we've got a lot of grinding to do with our flappy disc to make everything nice and smooth before we go ahead and seal everything, and then we can look at starting to paint this engine bay. We even managed to retain like the shape of this up here, which I'm freaking stoked about because that's one thing that I was worried about. But if you grab a battery, boom, battery tray completed. It looks pretty darn good, I think. I'm definitely happy with the result. Again, on the underside here, we've still got a bit of work to do. We're gonna grind everything nice and flat, seal it, paint it, and we'll obviously undercoat everything under the arches here as well. But like, I think we actually did a freaking sweet job. I've still got to finish welding under here. And although it might seem like we did this all in a day in this video, it's actually taken me like 4 days to replace this rust, which is pretty freaking crazy. This stuff just takes so much time and you have to pay a lot of attention to detail. But this is what was here before and that is what is there now. So unfortunately, this is where I have to end this video. I know it was only a rust repair video, which isn't always the most exhilarating stuff, but it has to be done before we can move on to the fun things like painting the bay, putting the engine in and all that stuff. And I'm really proud of the work that we've done here. There is still quite a bit of work to be done on the Skyline, but thank you guys so much for watching. As always, new Skyline content is following immediately after this in the next couple of days. And we are non-stop on this thing to get this car finished because we have our new project rolling in. It's really exciting. It's gonna be freaking insane. More drift kart content coming as well. If you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. rust free, baby. That is very exciting considering what we started with when we pulled this thing out of the paddock. Bye. Wow. Whose idea was it to buy a rusty Skyline from a frickin' farm?